Welcome to Morrison Madness Podcast. So, our last episode, we were talking about ADD and we didn't finish up and we decided to continue on talking about that. So now we're going
part 2.
Now we're going to talk about buying new vehicles.
Pretty funny. Right. So, yeah, we still had a lot to kind of cover. I feel like there's so much.
Well, we talked about the problems staying attention and what causes some of that. And a lot of times, kids or people with ADD, they're labeled as stupid or slow or not as smart when really they're bored.
Right.
It's not that they're not smart. They're bored.
Right.
And then they're always in trouble because they're doing something that the teacher thinks that they're not paying attention or whatever.
Or they're trying to do that distracted focus aspect. They
Right.
need that distraction to be focused, but the teacher that usually doesn't have ADD doesn't understand that. And even if they understand it, it's still a frustration point.
Right.
Because it distracts other kids that don't have ADD. It's distracting to the teacher themselves. I mean, it really can be a problem for those of us that don't have ADD for you to be able to be focused.
Well, and then that gets into the big component that we didn't talk about,
right.
which is the impulsiveness.
Yes.
So you had mentioned before about creativity.
Right.
And there are certain things that I can be very creative at. The biggest place where I have creativity can sometimes also be my biggest downfall in the fact that it's impulsive and I don't have a filter. So in the middle of conversations, I'll think of something that is maybe slightly not quite as appropriate. What is it that they say? Read the room? And Dom doesn't read the room. Dom's like, oh shit, that's funny, and just blurts it out.
There's no filter.
Right, yeah. And so...
Although most times that worked out really well for us with that Name That Tune and stuff.
But there were times I could read the room.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
There have been a couple of times when I've said stuff at shows, and I've had somebody come up afterwards and say something to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry that you didn't think that was funny. Did you hear how many people laughed?
Right.
That doesn't mean that you should have said it. I'm like, this is a bar. I'm
right.
sorry that you brought your 3-year-old to a bar.
Right.
Right. What am I supposed to do? Yes, it's a family place, and we do our best. If we know that there are kids in the place, we try not to play adult music.
Right.
But really, it's a bar.
Right.
Adults are there to relax and unwind.
Right.
There's a term called babysitter. And as somebody that had kids and was a single parent, sometimes you got to take them with you, but then you need to expect that there's going to be adult conversation. Not everybody has to filter themselves.
No, and sometimes it's better. There's research out there showing that if you shelter the child too much, that it's also not good for them. So you're better off letting the child be exposed to a little bit here and there and being able to have conversations about it and explaining it and being honest about it than hiding them from the real world in that sense. But again, we're getting off topic, so back to ADD.
Well, right, but that's why I was going back to that. So my creativity was affected a lot by my impulsiveness.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of times it would get me in trouble. I remember being freshman year of high school, and I couldn't help myself. And we got on, I feel like we're been in school for 3 months. We had semesters instead of trimesters, and I'm in natural sciences, right? And the teacher's up there, and he starts talking about volcanic eruptions and lightning and tornadoes and how these things are natural phenomenons. And every time he would say it, I would go, doot, 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 doot. Could not help myself.
Right.
Right? And
phenomena. Right. Mm-hmm.
At first, nothing, right? The third time he said it, and I followed it up with doot, 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 doot. The class is just rolling, and he has no idea why, right? And then he's just furious, stuff like that. It just popped into my head.
No, right.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it.
Right.
If I don't get it out, I'll blow up.
And I think we're laughing about it, but that's so true.
Yes.
And that leads into even conversations that we have. Like if we're having a conversation and something pops into your head, you need to interrupt me and tell me about whatever just popped into your head if it's important, because otherwise you will not remember by the time I'm done with my sentence. But the other side is if you're talking and something comes into my head, I cannot interrupt you because you will have a hard time remembering where you were at. So I just have to wait. So there's definitely different rules
Yes.
for us.
Yes.
In conversations. I don't think they're fair.
And if you really have to interrupt me, I will get a piece of paper and I will write down as I'm listening to you what I was going to say so I don't forget it.
Right. Yes. Yeah,
And,
it's an interesting...
And one of the other ways is when you say things to me, a lot of times I'll respond with a quote from a song.
Yes.
Because it's appropriate, it fits.
Yes.
It's my response. It's just a quote from a song. And remember when Grace went like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Or a month or something like that?
It was like a month.
Everything, anytime she asked for something or...
It was song lyrics.
Yes, everything.
And she sang them.
Yes.
Yes.
It was awesome.
It was really cool. But, and again, that shows the knowledge that you have of something, that you can pull that information at that time, but your brain just works that way.
But it's almost like a glitch in a computer. I mean, if your computer did that to you, you'd be pissed.
I could just see somebody being like, "Hey Alexa, what's the temperature out?" and they sing something back. I don't know if that would go over
Next
well.
up, by 98 degrees on the 4th of July.
Oh, that's funny.
How should I dress for the weather outside? It's getting hot in here. I take off all my clothes.
Oh, so then the impulsiveness though too, like you said, sometimes can get you into trouble, and it's not just the conversation, no filter, things come out of you, but that because you see an opportunity or you have an idea and you want to make that happen, and you just naturally want to do it now while you're thinking of it, and so then you don't always see the future of how that can impact stuff or how that works in a different way or what have you. I don't have a good example on my head right now of that, but I know that that's been a situation that have found ourselves in.
In your head.
In my head, yes.
You said on your head.
Okay, in my
head.
So, can you think of an example?
Of something impulsive?
Yeah, that not just saying, but like actually doing that has later come back to bite you kind of idea.
Oh, so many.
Are you going to share with class? Or none of them are appropriate? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, I get excited about projects or ventures, and then I dive into them, and then nobody else is as excited about it as I am, and then halfway through, because nobody else is excited about it, then I lose interest in it, and then I've wasted all that time and effort and any money that I would have put into it.
Yeah, that's true. The time and the money, it's a lot of times it'll come back to bite you. Because it again, you get very excited about something and the creativiness of it, and then you get lost in it. And so then other things don't get done or something that way. But that also reminds me of just in general, the chores and things around the house. And how Don has 10 projects going at all times, and they're everywhere. And look at that face. So one of the fun things that people don't necessarily know about us is that you do all of the dishes and all of the laundry.
This is true.
It is true. And it's one of the reasons I married you is that you do the dishes. The laundry I don't mind, but I hate doing dishes.
I don't dust.
He does not dust, no.
I will vacuum.
But I hate doing dishes. And the first time you had me over for a meal and I was going to be nice and trying to help with dishes, and you basically chewed me out and said, no, you save those. You like to do them in the morning. And there's whole reasons for that. But it was a shock to my system, first off, but then I realized that you were really honest about that and that you do enjoy dishes and you want to do them. You don't want other people doing them, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine letting you have all the dishes. I don't think when I cook, you're necessarily excited about it, but because I make a lot of dirty dishes, but dishes will pile up, and then you'll start a project and you'll lay it out on the couch in the living room because there's different parts and pieces or whatever, and then you'll get distracted by something else, and then that'll get laid out on the dining room table, and then you'll get distracted by something else, and that'll end up on the kitchen counter, and sometimes it'll get distracted enough that it'll end up all across our bed, and then all of a sudden Don has to go to work, and I'm walking around the house going, I don't have a place to sit or eat or lay down. Unless I clean some stuff up. And so sometimes I feel like I just clean up behind you once in a while. But it's not because you do it on purpose. That's just your brain. Did I just call you out? So
No, you're... I can't even like research and I could call a friend. Is there an argument for this? Nope. Just
but is that
suck
a
it up
true
and
thing?
eat it.
Like,
yeah, it's a true thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we have argued about it.
Yes.
And so there are times where I'm like, Don's in another project. Like, that's just the explanation.
Yes.
It's a Don project.
When our friend that does the AV stuff comes over, you're like, Don, it's 5:00. You need to clean a spot off on the couch so he has a place to sit down so we can discuss what we're going to do tonight.
Yes. And usually, because you don't work Wednesdays, usually Wednesday is our weekend day right now, because that's when we're recording. And yeah, we clean off the table. That's one of our things that we do every Wednesday is we make sure all the projects get taken off of the table.
Well, we had been keeping the table pretty cleaned off, but yeah, we got it cluttered up with going through all the Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yes, I tend to have laundry on half the couch and my Magic card stuff, D&D stuff, whatever, on the other half of the couch, and yeah, my backpack.
Yep.
On the floor in front of all three backpacks on the floor in front of the couch. And,
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So
my mom will come over and be like, "You asked me to come over here, and then there's no place for me to sit. Put your stuff away." Yes, Mom. Sorry.
Yes, that is definitely a thing. So the constant jumping from project to project to project, and the creativityness of ideas, and the excitement that you have about them, and I feel like I'm constantly having to burst your bubble when you come up with ideas, and I'm like, okay, but there's this and this and this that have to happen first, or these things have to line up for it to really work, and I don't know how we'd get those things to line up. And you're like, why don't you believe in me? I'm like, it's not that I don't believe in you. I'm just realistic in these things. But in that's part of why we also focus so much on you being able to have a to-do list and having a structure. And not that it has to be military-esque of you get up, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this all day long. You're up the same time every day and you're to the bed the same time every day, because clearly our life does not work that way at all. So we have most organized life probably of most people that I know. You know, we never know if you're going to get called in and have to go to work at 6:30 in the morning the day after we did a New Year's Eve show, which we posted about, you know.
But that's the thing. I mean, we could make our life more organized, and when I get called in to work, I could just say, I can't. I've only had 3 hours of sleep.
Right.
You know, but in addition to having ADD and enjoying having all of these different things to distract me, the fact that I have a job and we have these other businesses, then I'm less apt to get bored of my job. I'm less apt to get bored of my businesses and want to walk away from them because I have something else, you know.
You're bouncing from a project to a project to a project.
Right. And then I'm also, again, this is part of being an introvert and part of why I don't have a filter and I say the random, what did I say?
Introvert? You're not an extrovert.
And I say the random funny things that pop into my head because I enjoy that reaction because I'm a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I like to see people laugh. I like to make them laugh. Right. So if I get called into work, I got to be in pretty dire shape to not go into work.
Right.
You know, I can go into work on no sleep.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so that's part of why that happens. And then, yes, other areas suffer because of that.
Right.
And
And before the pandemic, you were doing stuff during the day. It may not be an official job, but you had plenty to do, and you had other businesses.
Well, I was subcontracting doing construction.
Right, and you had
and we got busy enough that
store.
I cut back on it.
Right, but then, I'm working on my PhD, which in and of itself is a full-time job, and I have a GA position with my PhD, which adds to the full-time job kind of idea. And then we were having 6 shows in a week at night. And people at our shows would find out that we did these other things during the day and then immediately came home and changed clothes and went back out and did, a show. And they were like, when do you sleep? And we're like, oh, no, we sleep. We just don't do anything else. And you can tell by our house.
No, but the best part was they would, after a show, they would be like, oh, you guys must just get done with these shows and go home and crash. And then when you would tell them, no, Don goes home and sits down, turns on the TV, and then starts building more playlists from the suggestions that people give him.
Yes.
For 2 hours, he will sit there in front of a computer and build playlists.
Yep.
And they're like, that's crazy. What time does he have to get up for work? And then you'd be like 6 o'clock, and they're like, he doesn't get any sleep.
Right. Yeah. And again, I think part of that is that your ADD allows you to be able to do that. I need more sleep. There's no two ways. I've always needed more sleep.
Right, but then once every 2 weeks, I have to have, I sleep for 24 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
You
just crash.
Yes, sleep through a hurricane.
Yeah. But again, I think because our life overall it goes 100 different directions all the time, then there's my alarm. I think that the task systems, the calendars, the structure, was important. And I think, while I primarily took over the financial side of stuff so you don't have late payments, there's other things that you struggled with that you don't struggle with as much because of the systems that are in place when you're following the systems.
But just to be clear, that even that financial thing, that's a system that you and I talked about. Right. I came to you. We didn't get married and you're like, all right, give me all the goddamn money.
No.
When we got married, everything was separate.
Yes.
And we kept it separate for a while. And then as I continued to struggle with stuff, I was like, okay, I know you already have a lot on your plate. I'm begging you to take over the money for these things. I'll keep track of the money for the business because that I can do.
Right.
And I don't have to worry about it because we use a credit card to pay for everything, and then there's just that one payment every month. And then you just give me an allowance so I have money if I want to stop and get some beer or some gummy worms or whatever the hell I want to get.
Which you enjoy telling people that you get an allowance every week. And then they're like, what?
Well, but I do. And it's not that I'm not good with money.
Oh, right.
It's that I'm horrible with bills.
Yes.
Because like with the businesses, I don't bounce checks for the business. I don't overdraw the account for the business.
Right.
I'm good at finding good deals on stuff. I'm good at waiting for a sale and planning and budgeting out stuff like that.
Right.
I'm good at negotiating deals, like if we're buying a vehicle or a piece of property or whatever.
Right.
I'm good at that kind of stuff. I'm horrible at remembering to pay multiple bills. Right. And the fact that we each had a property, so we had 2 electric bills, 2 water bills, 2 insurance payments, 2 this, 2 that.
Right.
I couldn't keep track of all of them.
Right. But it wasn't just the money. It's the general tasks as a whole. I mean, you have your little systems. Like you say, when you go to heat up your coffee or reheat your coffee in the microwave in the morning, then you'll do a little bit of dishes as you're doing that. And that's part of how you get dishes done, is that it's just a little bit all the time, that microwave minute that...
Until the dishwasher's full and then I run the dishwasher.
Right.
Yep.
So, you have some systems put in place, but there were a lot of things that were not in place that... Working with me, we put stuff into place, and because I was good at managing stuff, I was good at having systems, and I've learned a lot more about all of that by working with you.
Yeah,
and
ADD. And some things you still haven't been able to train me on.
Right.
And not that you haven't tried. So you've been trying for at least a couple, if not several years, to get me to not do the laundry in the living room, but to take it down to our bedroom and do it on our bed.
Especially now that it's just the two of us.
And I still do it in the living room, which is why I have to move the clothes before,
yes.
Our AV guy comes over or my mom comes over so they have a place to sit on the couch.
Yes. If you ever show up at our house, there will be clothes on the couch or magic cards, one or the other. Or both.
This is one of the funniest things, and this is an ADD moment, but it sort of ties in. So I know for a fact that at one of these times, LaShelle is going to do a TikTok video of me because I have a little bit of Pavlov training happening. We got this damn Roomba.
Robbie!
And I call him Robbie the rambunctious robot. And I forget what days that he's supposed to be vacuuming. And one day he vacuums the back end of the house, which is like our hallway and the bedrooms. And then on the other days he does the living room, dining room, kitchen. Well, I'll be out here in the living room and I'm working on the computer and I'm drinking my coffee. I'm taking my morning medicine, right? I'm sitting there enjoying my time. And all of a sudden I hear Robbie kick off and I'm like, shit. And I got to run down to the bedroom and make sure there's no cords on the floor or a sock or anything else. Because he'll eat that stuff. And then he gets himself stuck. As soon as I hear that sound, I am sprinting for the bedroom.
Yeah, it is pretty, it's pretty funny. So again, that the structures, the systems, I've done a lot of research and we've tested out a ton of stuff and we kind of know what works, and not just one way that works, but multiple ways, depending upon your scenario, depending upon your situation, depending upon your schedule, how things work better, and your preferences too, whether you are a paper person or you're an electronic person or you're a mix of the two and all of that kind of stuff. And so we've been talking about, we have courses that we do online and we've done mixology courses in the past, but we are...
well, and we're doing more mixology courses for the future.
Yeah. Well, we're doing lots of mixology. They'll continue. But one of the courses that we're starting is managing the madness.
Right.
And so this is kind of a call out to you guys. If you're listening and you struggle with this kind of stuff and you're interested in what we do and how that works, contact us because that's something that we can help you with. Right now I'm looking to do individual coaching kind of idea first before I really create something online, because I want to make sure that it works for more than just Don, which I think it will overall.
I would think so. Whenever we've gotten the kids to use any parts of it, it's helped them.
Yes.
They just won't stick with it.
Yes. Yeah. And I've held friends and stuff in the past. I've talked about some of these systems, not necessarily to the depth that we'll do within this course. But it's definitely something that I'm looking for students. I'm looking for people to test it out and see. So if you're interested, definitely let us know. I'm happy to work with you on that virtually in that way. So that's something that I'm excited about, and hopefully we'll get started here in the spring. But I think in general, we'll continue to manage our madness the best that we can.
So far, so good.
So
I think, we could go on for hours about ADD and funny
right.
ADD stories, but I think that pretty much wraps up,
Yeah.
You coming into this family of ADD, yes, and the struggles at dinner when we would have 6 conversations going and,
yes.
Trying
part of the reason
to corral that, and,
right.
you, in my opinion, you've dealt with it pretty well, and while yes, a little bit of it, was contagious at the time, you're also able to step back from it and refocus yourself, and and then in that help me manage mine, so that I can accomplish more things in a day. Because one of the things that it's not that you hate hearing me say it, you feel bad for me whenever you hear me say it, is I never have enough time to do all the things I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not because I have like the worst time management. It's that I get pulled away from one thing and then I don't ever get things finished.
Right.
And then I don't feel like I've accomplished anything.
Right.
So.
And I think there's components that I've learned and I've gained because of being in a family of ADD, so.
You're welcome.
And right there we can end. We're done. So again, this is our second continuation of ADD is Contagious, or the ADD part 2. I don't know if we mentioned it this one. Make sure that if you are watching us on YouTube to subscribe and hit that bell button. That helps us out greatly for other people being able to see this.
Like it, share it, comment.
Like it, share it, comment.
We will do our best to comment back.
Absolutely, especially on social media, Facebook, Instagram, we're there. You can also email us, which is in the descriptions, whether you're listening on a podcast player or you're watching us on YouTube. We love interacting with you guys. That's the whole reason we're doing this. We're not getting paid. It's not sponsored. We're just having fun, and we just want to connect with you and hear more from you guys And part of that is knowing what you want us to talk about and also hearing your guys' stories.
If you would like to sponsor us or pay us, I mean, you know, we'd be happy to send you our Venmo information.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, we do have Venmo.
But again, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Until the next show, have a good night.
Have a good time, guys.